She was strict, powerful, and feared by her students. Her heels clicked like a metronome of authority down the hallway, a rhythm every child recognized. Parents praised her test scores. The school highlighted her discipline in glossy newsletters. But students told stories of the teacher who could cut a child's confidence with a single sentence. Her name was Ms. Reynolds. On a Tuesday morning when the sun was already too bright for a classroom with tired eyes, the door creaked open. A boy stepped in, late, breathing hard from the run. Dust clung to his shoes, the soles were separating at the edges like tired lips. His shirt was clean but faded, the collar gone soft from too many careful washes. He held a notebook against his chest the way people hold something fragile. His name was Daniel. He stopped at the doorway, searching for air that would not come. 30 heads turned. Some smirked. Some looked away. Ms. Reynolds looked up without moving the rest of her body, a statue with living eyes. "You're late," she said, voice cold. I had to," Daniel began. "Stop." She lifted a hand. "No excuses. We began at 8. You're not special. Take your seat." He swallowed and started toward the back. A shoelace trailed him like a string from a kite he could not afford. His desk creaked as he sat. He opened his notebook with care, as if opening it too quickly might scare the knowledge away. His pencil was chewed nearly to the metal. He listened like a thirsty child listens to water. For the next 20 minutes, he tried to catch up, eyes darting from board to page as if he could stitch the missing minutes back together. He had left home before sunrise, had helped his mother repair a broken stall at the market, had run the last half-mile because the bus never came. But none of that could be seen from Ms. Reynolds's desk. From there, only rules were visible. "Homework," she snapped at last. "Pass it forward." A paper parade slid across the desks like small white boats. Daniel's cheeks warmed. He searched his backpack, the zipper stuck, then surrendered. Inside, carefully wrapped in a plastic bag to keep it dry, lay his assignment. He had completed it by candlelight when the power failed again. He had double-checked every step, then tucked it away like a treasure. He lifted the bag, but the seam he'd sealed with tape gave way. Pages fanned out, fluttering like frightened pigeons. A few fell to the floor. A foot caught one and slid it away. The class began to laugh. Someone whispered, "Look at his shoes." Someone else, "He sleeps in those." Ms. Reynolds's eyes didn't soften. She tapped her desk with a pen. "Enough," she said. Then to Daniel, "Up here." He stood and walked the aisle, papers gathered to his chest. He handed them to her with both hands. She didn't reach for them. Instead she looked down, past his hands, past the pages, to his shoes. Their cracked leather told a story without asking for permission. The class followed her gaze. The laughter returned, meaner now, fed by someone else's weakness. Ms. Reynolds spoke the kind of sentence that doesn't leave a child quickly. "You'll never succeed in life if you can't even afford proper shoes." The room inhaled. The fluorescent lights buzzed. Far away, a lawn-mower started. Somewhere close, something inside Daniel broke and then stood up straight. Silence. He lifted his head, not in defiance, but in dignity. "Yes, ma'am," he said softly. She gestured to the door. "Go to the office. We don't reward lateness here. And don't come back until you can follow the rules." He nodded, collected his bag, closed it carefully as if even zippers could feel humiliation. The chair scraped. 30 pairs of eyes watched him walk the aisle like a prisoner to a gate. In that long thin tunnel of quiet, a single sentence formed inside him, slow and deliberate, the way a seed decides to break open. "I will remember this day, but it will not define me. I will build a life where no child hears these words again." He stepped into the hallway. The door clicked behind him. At home, the market was a teacher of a different kind. It taught him sound, how coins sing when they meet, how bargaining is a dance, how hope rustles like plastic bags in a restless wind. He helped his mother repair a stall held together by string and love. He polished second-hand shoes with a rag until the leather shone like patience. He carried crates for vendors who paid in gratitude and small bills. Every coin he earned, he pressed between the pages of a book to keep it safe. At night, under a sky that hummed with distant generators, Daniel studied. When power failed, he studied by candlelight. When candles burned out, he studied near the window where the moon offered spare change. He drew diagrams with broken pencils and erased mistakes with the edge of his thumb. He practiced until the practice became prayer. Every insult became fuel. Every struggle became strength. The sentence that had wounded him, "You'll never succeed," turned out to be a prophecy that got the addendum it never asked for. "Watch me." He returned to school the next day, not to Ms. Reynolds's class, but to the counselor's office. He asked about scholarships. He asked about community programs. He asked with the quiet persistence of tides wearing down stone. Paperwork appeared. Meetings were scheduled. More than once he heard, "We don't take late applications," and more than once he said, "I understand," and then asked who might listen anyway. One afternoon, in the library that smelled of dust and old hope, the librarian, a man with kindness folded into his smile, found Daniel copying notes by hand from a textbook they could not afford to lend. "You're here every evening," the librarian said. Daniel nodded. "It's quiet here." The librarian leaned on the desk. "It's quiet in churches, too. But people still come with noise in their hearts." Daniel grinned. "Books help." "Books do more than help," the man said. "They introduce you to versions of yourself you didn't know existed." He slid a form across the desk. "There's a scholarship for stubborn students. They don't call it that, of course. But that's what it is. You should apply." Daniel did. He wrote an essay that told the truth without bitterness, about shoes and sentences and the expensive price of dignity. Weeks later, a letter arrived with the soft sound of paper changing a life. He got the scholarship. It wasn't much. It was everything. He learned to fix computers with parts that didn't match but learned to agree. He learned to write code at public terminals in the crowded lab, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. He learned to be early because he knew what lateness cost. He learned to forgive because carrying anger made his hands too full to carry books. Time did what time does when it finds someone working. It conspired in his favor. Daniel graduated with honors. Not because he was the smartest, but because he refused to be the first to stop trying. A second scholarship took him farther, into a program that paired students with mentors. He met people who had never chosen between bus fare and lunch. Some were kind. Some were careless. He learned from both. In his final year, he built a small app that matched and used school supplies with students who needed them. It was clumsy at first, like a foal standing. Then it found its legs. Teachers posted their extra items. Parents whose children had outgrown things added to the list. Donors quietly restocked the invisible shelves. The app did in months what meetings had failed to do in years. It found the gaps and closed them with community. After graduation, a fellowship helped him build the app into a company. A small, stubborn company that believed no child should be humiliated for being poor. He hired a team. He listened more than he spoke. The company grew. Not like a fire, sudden and loud, but like a tree, ring by ring, storm by storm, until one day people sat in its shade and said, "It was always this tall." Yet Daniel never forgot where the seed of that tree was planted. He remembered the classroom, the laughter of classmates, the sting of rejection. He remembered his worn shoes and the sentence that tried to define him. Those memories shaped every decision he made as a leader. One winter morning, Daniel received an email from a foundation that wanted to partner with his company. The foundation had purchased several struggling schools and needed new leadership on the board, leaders who understood both scarcity and vision, leaders who could make policy without forgetting people. They asked if he would serve as board director for the district where he once studied. He read the note slowly, again and again. It felt like life had circled back with both justice and responsibility. He said yes. When he returned, the old school looked smaller, as if his growth had changed its scale. Paint peeled in shy curls. Windows rattled in their frames. The flag tangled itself around the pole, flapping half-heartedly in the cold wind. The courtyard still smelled like chalk dust and cut grass, and voices still ricocheted through the windows like birds that refused to be caged. Inside, the staff gathered in the common room. Coffee cups steamed. The air carried both curiosity and suspicion. "The new board director is arriving today," someone said. "I heard he's from one of those tech companies," another whispered. To some, technology was a miracle. To others, it was a threat. Ms. Reynolds straightened the stack of papers in front of her. She had aged gracefully, but the years had given her sharper corners. Authority still sat on her shoulders, though a little heavier than before. "I hope," she said, "that he respects tradition. People who don't know schools think children are clay. They forget that clay dries." The door opened. Silence spread like a wave. Daniel stepped in, no longer a boy with frayed laces, but a man whose shoes were polished not for pride but for readiness. His presence carried weight, but also peace. "Good morning," he said warmly. "I'm Daniel Mensah. Thank you for making time. I'm honored to serve as your new board director." Murmurs rippled. Some leaned forward. Others sat back, measuring him. Ms. Reynolds's face shifted, then steadied. "Daniel," she whispered, standing. "Yes, ma'am." Her hands trembled slightly before she folded them together. There is always a moment when a person must choose, double down or bow. She drew a deep breath. "Welcome," she said. He inclined his head. "Thank you." Daniel placed a slide on the projector. "Every child matters." His voice filled the room. "We're here to build a school where poverty is not punished and potential is not missed. We will raise standards, but we will also raise people. We will honor the rules, but we will not use them as weapons." A teacher raised a cautious hand. "What do you mean?" Daniel smiled gently. "Rules are for guiding children, not grading their worth. Discipline must never humiliate. Once, in this very building, a boy was told he would never succeed because his shoes were worn. The room stilled. Every teacher knew the weight of such words. Some lowered their eyes. "That sentence followed him for a time," Daniel continued, "but it did not define him. He learned that dignity can bloom in difficult soil. And now he is here to make sure no child hears that sentence again." Ms. Reynolds's throat tightened. She pressed her papers flat on the table to keep her hands steady. Later, she found him by the window where sunlight pooled. "I was cruel," she said quietly. "I thought harshness produced strength. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it only produces fear. I am sorry." Daniel looked at her, really looked. "I forgave you long ago," he said softly. "Forgiveness was the first tool I needed." "How will you lead?" she asked. "By listening," he said. "By knowing the names of janitors and the dreams of the children. By making sure a boy late from helping his mother at the market does not walk out believing he is less. And if a child breaks the rules, then we teach him what the rules are for and help him keep them next time. Consequences without contempt." He continued, "Breakfast for those who arrive hungry. A fund for uniforms and shoes, no questions asked. A quiet room for those who need calm. We'll train teachers in restorative practices. We'll measure not just scores, but belonging." Ms. Reynolds's eyes softened. "I want to help." "Good," he replied. "Experience is a map. Compassion is the compass." The changes did not arrive like confetti cannons. They arrived like rain in a dry season, first a rumor, then a reality. The breakfast room filled not just with food, but with relief. The uniform fund did not leak. The hallways softened, not in standards, but in the way adults spoke to children. Teachers began meetings with a new question. What do your students need to feel safe enough to learn? And they discovered safety was not a luxury. It was the foundation on which progress walks. One morning, a boy named Micah arrived late, shoes muddy from a path that doesn't respect schedules. He stopped at the doorway, hat in hand, apology ready. A young teacher paused her lesson and crouched slightly to meet his eyes. "We're glad you're here. Go clean up and grab breakfast. Your seat is waiting." Micah's shoulders lifted. For the first time, he felt school was not a place of punishment, but possibility. Subscribe for more inspiring stories. Like, if Daniel's journey touched you. Comment your thoughts with theses questions below. Do you believe poverty today can turn into power tomorrow? Do you agree that respect costs nothing, but changes everything? Who shaped Daniel more, Ms. Reynolds' insult, or his own determination? Share this story with others who need encouragement. Visible shelves. Subscribe and share for the part 2 of this powerful story.